We're going to start every single episode breaking down a schedule. And we're just going to go in alphabetical order. So you know what's coming first. You know Vanderbilt is last. So let's start off with the team that most people are probably wondering, what's the jump in year 2? That would be Alabama. Florida State, Louisiana Monroe, Wisconsin, a bye week before they go travel to Athens to take on Georgia. Vanderbilt at home, at Missouri, the third Saturday in October. Then you go play South Carolina before you get well rested for another challenging closeout of the season. LSU, Oklahoma, you welcome on in, and then you go close out at Auburn in the Iron Bowl, where weird shit happened to Jordan-Hare. We already know that. So, Dave, when you look at this, top to bottom, let's start off with the first major fact.
God, first of all, I love that when we get into schedules. I think it's really post-spring. It's preseason football magazine type of season for us to really break down schedules. But sorry, Barry, what was your question, the initial one?
Most winnable conference game.
Most winnable conference game going into
yeah.
I'm going to say most winnable conference game for them. I'm going to go it's going to sound crazy because I think they lost I know they lost the game last year, but I'm going to go Vanderbilt at home. I don't think they lose that game this year at home. I'm pretty confident they win that game. I'm going to go Vandy.
I'm going to go Vandy too. And it's not to be disrespectful, but I don't see you losing to Vanderbilt back-to-back years.
Well, I saw Kane Womack even had a quote saying he had the scoreboard of that game that sitting in his office. I was like, yeah, it's wild to say Alabama's going to be motivated all summer by the Vanderbilt loss. But, yeah, it's going to be one. I think that defensive staff is going to take a lot of pride in being like, hey, dude, we're not getting carved up again. There's no way. Not to say Bama's going to have some plays, but, yeah, you're right. That's going to game. There's a year Bama will not overlook Vanderbilt. And, again, I know they don't play every year. They used to, but not anymore. It's not this year. I think they win that game.
No. Like, if you told me that they played close on the road against Missouri, I could buy it. If you told me that they played down to the wire at South Carolina, I could buy it.
Shoot, it was down to the wire this year.
Yeah. I can't buy that after the way that your offense looked in that game and your defense really struggled, and that's why Diego Pavia and company were able to beat you in Nashville. I can't see a world where you drop that game. I can't. I feel like that if there was any game that you have circled, hey, this is an inexcusable loss for us, this is an inexcusable moment for our program, it's the Vandy game on October 4th. So I'm absolutely saying that is one where not only do they have to win, it's one where they're going to win, and they may end up taking out a couple of abusive comments that they have heard throughout the entire offseason on that matchup. So that I agree with you on. Next one, which is the easiest loss you can see on the schedule? And I'm going to preface this. Let's not say Georgia because we know it's Georgia.
Bear's asking a question that we have a comment. The math just did. Bear's like, I don't like how this math works. Yeah.
I know the math is math in here.
All right, not named Georgia. All right. I'm gonna go at Auburn, dude. Bama's won 5 years in a row. They're due to lose a game. Can they get to 6? Can they tie Auburn's last biggest winning streak that Auburn had from 2002 through 2007 with Tommy Tuberville? Can they tie that this year? They're going to have to go into Jordan-Hare, where they've been lucky to win the last 2 games in 21 and 23, as we all know. I think this is going to be one of Auburn's better teams they've had in these 6 years, in these last 6 years. So I think that's the most likely loss after Georgia.
See, like, you're asking me to believe so much in Auburn, and I get it. It's Jordan-Hare. So, like, that to me is the reason why I would buy into it. But I also have said this before. In years where LSU is going to the SEC championship, and in years where they are good enough to be a college football playoff team, they beat Alabama. They do. They did it in 2019. They did it in 2022 when Brian Kelly's first year. Now, again, one of them was in Tuscaloosa, one of them was in Baton Rouge. But if I'm really high on LSU taking that next step forward and Garrett Nussmeier being in the conversation for a Heisman Trophy and leading the Tigers in that same way that Jaden Daniels did and the way Joe Burrow did, it's got to be that game. Their defense, if it's better, they have a healthy Honky Badger. They have back a Harold Perkins at the second level. Their secondary gets a couple of mistakes made. Like, there's a lot that goes into this to where it's like, it's risky because it's in Bryant-Denny, But I like LSU this year to be one of the better teams in the SEC. And so what does that say? You're probably going to have to beat Alabama. I think that's a losable game. I think it's probably outside of Georgia the most losable because of also, Dave, look at this real fast. Georgia, brand new starting quarterback. We already know about Vanderbilt. Missouri, brand new starting quarterback. South Carolina's losing a lot defensively. Tennessee, brand new starting quarterback. Oklahoma, brand new starting quarterback. Florida State, brand new starting quarterback. Auburn, brand new starting quarterback. Yeah. You got a guy that's been in a system for 4 years. Like, in whether or not it's Mike Denbrock's system, Joe Sloan laid a foundation down.
Oh, no, I'm not saying Garrett Nussbauer's not going to be good. I'm just saying I don't think he's going to go have a Joe Burrow 2019 type season.
Right, but if you do think that, and I think he can have that, you probably got to beat Alabama. So it's like, that's where my brain is.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
where my brain is.
You had what Joe Burrow did. You have to win every game. No, and then J-Pat. It's not Tennessee at home. That went down the drain after Nico left the door, J-Pat.
If Nico was there, I maybe would
potentially. But again, do I see Josh Heupel win a big road game? And don't give me 21 or 22 LSU at 11 a.m. where LSU fumbles the opening kickoff. That doesn't count. I'm talking about
Oklahoma last year.
No, Oklahoma ended up with a losing record. No. I'm saying, like, what they go beat somebody like Alabama or Athens, or Florida hasn't had great teams recently and they've struggled there. Josh Heupel definitely has a road problem. I said it a lot going into last year. I even think the Tennessee fans who wear the brightest orange glasses would admit, offensively, for games or halves, they disappear against quality competition on the
road. 3 must-win games. So you look at the entire schedule, 3 games that you have to win. Which are they?
They have to win. It's got to start off the first game. You got to set the tone. At Florida State, I know Florida State may not be very good, but you can't lose that game to open up dude, got to talk about the boiling point of this program. Like, Kalen DeBoer would be, 14 games in? And you'd have tons of people wanting to get rid of him, especially what Florida State did last year. I don't care if it's on the road. Got to set the tone there. I think they got great leadership. I think that team will be fired to play the game. So I think it starts off with Florida State. Then I think it's LSU. I think LSU's second. I think LSU, they got to win that game. And then I think finally, I'm going to say Tennessee probably 3. Not because it's the most difficult. I think you just got to hold that serve at home at Tennessee. I almost went Auburn, but I'm gonna go Tennessee. But I think you can make a lot of cases for the third one. But I think definitely starts off with the season, man. You got to set the tone. I think you got to look good in this game. Like, I think you really need to go treat this game like, hey, let's just get through this. We need to look good, like set a statement, send a message to the rest of the league in the country in Tallahassee. And then I'm with you, Bear. Again, usually when Alabama or LSU's good, this game means a lot. That November 8th matchup at Brighton, he's second. And then I'll go Tennessee, but part of me too wants to go Auburn. So again, I'll go Tennessee. That was the third one.
Cool. You go Tennessee. I will go Auburn. I think you have to win the Iron Bowl. I do. I think that you have to, because this is the thing that I've always wondered. We talked about this when it came to Kirby Smart. Was it a Nick Saban thing or was it a Bama thing? And what happened last year? Kirby Smart still lost to Bama. So it is a little bit of a Bama thing right now. It is. Just a little bit. Just maybe not the entire thing, but it is. Is it a Jordan Hare thing? Or is it that was Nick Saban's kryptonite at times? Losing in sporadic fashion in the final game of the regular season in a rivalry matchup. Was it that? Because we've seen Auburn play in Tuscaloosa. We've yet to see Kalen DeBoer play at Jordan Hare. So that's one for me. LSU is another one for me because of, again, you want to be known as that team that ends up getting a win and setting kind of the tone for the back half of the season. Remember how well everyone looked at Alabama and said, if this is the version we get the rest of the year, they're going to the college football playoff with Jalen Milroe, who was coming off terrible losses to Vanderbilt and Tennessee. I think that that's, again, a tone setter for the back half. And I want to go with Oklahoma because of it just feels like the way you lost last year was embarrassing, knowing that you were right there at the finish line to go to the college football playoff. And then we wouldn't even have this conversation about SMU versus Bama versus Ole Miss versus South Carolina. But I go Vanderbilt. I don't care at all what your record is in terms of program 5 stars or what you bring in the transfer portal. It's Alabama and it's Vanderbilt. You can convince me on a bad day, a very bad day, you will lose to Oklahoma. There is no scenario in the history of college football where an Alabama team with that much talent should ever lose to Vanderbilt, even if they landed 4 or 5 stars. You just shouldn't, ever. And so to me, that is more of a game to where, hey, that logo that we wear on the side of our helmet, that number that is attached to us, that script A, that carries a lot of weight, especially in this part of the country. We are not losing to the Commodores, and we are not losing at home to the Commodores. To me, I can forgive a loss in the Iron Bowl. I can forgive a loss to LSU. I can forgive a South Carolina homecoming loss. If I'm an Alabama fan, it's really hard for me to stomach back-to-back losses to Vanderbilt. It's really hard for me to get into that. So those are my 3.
Yeah, I mean, you lose to Vanderbilt. That's bad. I like your point, though. Oklahoma's an under the radar. I think you can make a real argument for 3. I like that one, too. You're right, too, because you got embarrassed. That was a team that essentially kind of knocked you out of the playoffs. They're at your crib. Again, that could be a big game late in the year because I'm with you. If Oklahoma's healthy, I think Oklahoma could come in this matchup where both these teams need to win this game to continue on to the playoffs. I like that one.
Alabama's ceiling.
I mean, 12-0.
You think that?
I think they can win every game, yeah. I could say that about a couple of different teams. But, again, if you told me Ty Simpson played at a winnable plus level, if that's all you told me, that's the only information I had on anyone going into the 2025 football season, I would say Alabama won the SEC because I think they got enough leadership back on defense. They got 3 starters back on the offensive line. I think that's serviceable enough. You got Jam Miller. Again, they don't really run a lot of this system with Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb. They kind of run running backs. Again, they don't always like to run the football, and they usually only have one bell cow. Even going back to the Dylan Johnson days in 2023 when they went to the playoffs with Michael Penix in Washington. I think if Isaiah Horton lives up to be it, they have a legitimate top 3. I think Auburn's probably got a little bit more depth when you got it on like Malcolm Simmons.
Oh, from a depth standpoint, for sure.
Top 5, I would go Auburn, but I think that combination could be up there with Auburn's top 3 too. Like if you told me Isaiah Horton was up there, because me and you both feel the same about how consistent Jeremy Bernard, and we know the ceiling with Ryan Williams. He's just going to get stronger this offseason because I think things are going to be thrown at him differently this year. But no, I think the ceiling's 12-0 if things stay healthy. Again, that's my concern with them a little bit though, just like a lot of teams now. Very thin. Very, very thin.
At important positions too. At very important position. See, I have too much respect for every team in the SEC that's going to contender this year. Oklahoma, I think could be in that conversation. I think Tennessee, if Aguilar hits, could be in that conversation. I'm not ready to doubt South Carolina. So I go 11-1 because of it. Just with this many teams that you face off against, it's not the toughest schedule in the SEC, but it's not the easiest.
To give them credit, their non-conference slate. You play Florida State and Wisconsin.
And who knows what they're going to be. Maybe we'll look back and say, hey, Wisconsin ended up being 9-3 and Florida State got to 8-4. Like that could be a thing. We don't know. So you're telling me Florida State, if let's say they're at their peak, it's a 9-win team. Wisconsin at their peak, it's an 8-win team. Georgia, Missouri with that schedule. Tennessee ends up being in that 8-9 win range. South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, and Auburn all take necessary jumps forward. You're going to lose a game. So my ceiling is 11-1. It's just a respect factor to what is the SEC just in general. But I agree with you. Ty Simpson holds a lot of the keys. If he takes the steps that you want to see with Ryan Grubb in his offense that works and is very quarterback friendly, I mean, they could blow out Vanderbilt. They could blow out Missouri. They could beat the brakes off of Tennessee. They could manhandle South Carolina. They could get their ass whooped by LSU if LSU is as advertised, and then go on a winning spree and score like 82 points in their last 3 games combined. Like that could be it. That's their ceiling. And then they're right back in Atlanta, and we don't have to worry about Alabama missing the college football playoff because the only thing we're wondering is, are you hosting a game at Bryant-Denny or are you already on to the next round? That's the ceiling, because I agree with you. Their wide receiver room from the top 3, arguably one of the best in college football. One of the best in college football when it's at its peak. But that's their ceiling. What's the floor is the next part.
Yeah. Floor for me, I'm going to go 8-4. Yeah, I see a world where, they say the quarterback spot doesn't. Again, Florida State's going to throw stuff at them. They didn't see it. You got a different coordinator now. Gus Malzahn's there, which adds an interesting dynamic to that game. But no, I mean, I could see that. I mean, you could definitely lose to Georgia. You could lose at South Carolina, I think, certainly. You could lose to LSU, certainly. Oklahoma, I think, is a team you could definitely lose to. I mean, throw Tennessee if Alabama's bad. Again, say it's not working with Ty Simpson. So you just say Joey Aguilar ain't playing better going into that game. And certainly Auburn. I mean, you see 6 very losable games. Wouldn't shock me if they only won 2 of those if they hit the injury, if the injury bug's not kind to them, because, again, they're thin at certain spots. And then the quarterback position really isn't painted in. They got to go to Kalen Russell earlier than they probably want. And then obviously we know in the SEC as a true freshman, I don't care how good you are, there's going to be a learning curve. So 8-4, I would say.
I go 9-3. Again, it's a respect factor to what I think this defense is going to be. The thing that I walked away with out of what was A-Day that wasn't A-Day of old, but still a pretty solid A-Day that we knew, they're going to be better on the back end because of the depth they have there. Like, it's going to be one of those things where I look at the safety play, I look at the cornerback play, I look at the Husky role. They're going to have guys all competing for first-team reps to where if one of them gets injured, you're not going to feel like you're missing a beat. I think the defensive line is still going to be a pretty solid unit. I think another underrated guy that was added in this offseason was Kelby Collins coming on in from Florida. I think that's a really good fit for what Kane Womack's defense wants. But I agree with you. The offense is what it all matters on. If you have to turn to Keelan Russell, not because of Keelan Russell is just kicking ass in camp, not just because of he's already looking like the next big-time player, but because if Ty Simpson is costing you drives and Austin Mack is not the answer, that's a problem because it is a freshman in the SEC. I don't care who you are. That's a challenge if you don't have a solid run game. And I'm not saying you have like 3 or 4 great running backs. I'm saying one dude that can just move the ball. If your offensive line is still awful the way it was at the right tackle spot with Pritchett last year, with times in the interior of the offensive line, like if that's what you're looking at, and you don't see Parker Brailsford take a step forward, and Cam Dewberry doesn't meet the expectations like he was supposed to when coming on in from Texas A&M.
Yeah, Dewberry is key to the team too.
You could lose to Georgia, barely beat Oklahoma. I mean, barely beat Vanderbilt, struggle but still get by Tennessee. And then if Joey Aguilar and Missouri, and if Joey Aguilar and Tennessee are actually humming at this point, that's a game that goes down to the wire. And then afterwards, I might also add in, you go travel to South Carolina with Lenoris Sellers, where that's going to be a blow-for-blow game where you can only ask your defense to do so much against him. You can. So I think the floor is probably 9-3. And then just right now, gut feeling after today, what's your prediction? I'll go first and just say they're a 10-2 team this year. I think if they're good enough to be in the college football playoff, I think if they will lose 2 games, it may end up being South Carolina, the bye, and then LSU. It may end up being back-to-back undefeated. They go into Athens, they kick Georgia's ass, and then somehow they lose to LSU and Oklahoma, and they have to win the Iron Bowl to guarantee their spot in the college football playoff, and they do. Or maybe they lose to Oklahoma and they lose to Auburn, but they beat South Carolina and they beat Tennessee. I think that they're going to have still some struggles offensively at times. I don't think the running game is going to be perfect. I think that they're still going to be so prioritizing the passing attack, but this is still a 10-win team. And I think that a lot of people that were shitting on Kalen DeBoer, they're going to have to eat a little bit of words, eat a little bit of crow, humble pie, you might add in, because you're going to the college football playoff. Like a 10-2 team not going to the college football playoff does not factor in the SEC. It means something in the Big 12 and in the ACC. You're a 10-win team in the conference. You are going to the dozen dance. And I think that Alabama right now feels like a playoff team.
Yeah. I mean, I think they have the best defense going into the season by far. I mean, best secondary. I mean, Damani Jackson could be the first corner in this league drafted next year. They got Bray Hubbard who came on. He got back from injury.
You know what's crazy about Damani Jackson? Damani Jackson may not even be the best cornerback on his team. Like, from a talent-wise. He may be
probably the true freshmen they signed last year, Xavier Brown's probably it, or Dijon Lee this year is a pretty good player. You're right. I wouldn't say they're deep because, again, you almost have Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. He's an injury or 2 away from being out there. That's the concern. Bama's starting 5 in the secondary is as good as you could probably ask in college football, like just off kind of experience and then playing well. But inevitably, we know you get injuries. So that'll be the key to me. I do think Deontay Lawson coming back is massive. So is Justin Jefferson. I mean, there was one point we thought they were going to lose Jahad Campbell, Deontay Lawson, and Justin Jefferson. It'd be like, oh, man, like they could be in trouble at inside back, or LT Overton in the front. So the defense, you're fired up. I think Kane Womack, second year, we always see that. I talk about DJ Durkin. I'm with you, Bear. 10-2 is what I would say right now on April 27th, 2025 at 8:33, folks. Let's remember that. I would go the 2 losses if you made me pick would be in Athens and then in Auburn at the end of the year. But I do think Bama will be playing for the SEC title game. But I'm with you. I think they go 10-2 with 2 losses on the road.